Hello everyone, this is Shavni Shirishurankar and welcome to the final project presentation. Our project title is Human Activity Recognition and our group number is 2. So let me start with the problem statement. Human activity recognition is a technique in which we train a supervised learning model that is finally capable of recognizing activities performed by a human body. So all of us might think, why do we require human activity recognition? Let me explain with the help of an example. Consider a patient who is in coma is admitted to a hospital. In the traditional approach, a human nurse is supposed to monitor the patient. This entire process can be automated using the human activity recognition technique. Our application captures the video of the patient in real time, detects if the person is still or performing any activity, and in the latter case notifies the doctor. Thus, this approach is one of the most cost-effective approach as the nurse is no longer required to monitor the patient and can easily be replaced with the help of an automated machine. One of the major application of human activity recognition lies in the surveillance. This technique can be used in ATMs for security purpose, medical and healthcare services to monitor the patients as well as their behavior, officers to detect how effectively an employee is working, in schools, and in various other places where surveillance plays a vital role. Let me come to the literature survey. Our team has gone through a total of 11 papers based on human activity recognition. Few of the important approaches which we found out were using CNN and SVM. CNN stands for Convolutional Neural Network and SVM stands for Simple Vector Machine. SVM is a type of classifier. Another classifier being used was k-fold cross-validation. Few other approaches which we saw included the usage of RNN. RNN stands for recurrent neural network. Few other approaches used deep neural network or DNN. Other approaches included image processing techniques. Now comes the existing system. The most common approach found was using mobile sensors. Sensors like triaxial accelerometer and gyroscope were used from smartphones to estimate the human activity. Another approach involves the image processing technique. In this technique, the background reduction was performed and only the feature of interest was highlighted and enhanced. Next was the recurrent neural network. In RNN, we use time series data, and based on that, few features of interest were being plotted as a graph or as a matrix. So these features of interest were considered for the activity recognition thing. Next comes the existing system issues. One of the major issue was the usage of sensors. Sensor cost is really high and the availability of the sensors cannot be predicted everywhere. So hence, in the places where sensors could not be found, this application could not be implemented. Here comes our proposed system. In our proposed system, we are eliminating the use of sensors and only relying on the real-time camera feed. Proposed system advantages. I just stated earlier that our proposed system is totally eliminating the use of sensors and only relying on camera feed. Thus, sensor cost is eliminated. Dependability on sensors is also eliminated. Previous, we don't require any setup, only a camera is more than enough. We also observed that the approach which we are using, we use a very less amount of hardware resources as compared to the existing techniques. Further will be explained by Shubham.
This is Shubham, and I'm going to proceed with the explanation of the system architecture design that we have used in the development of this project. Now, in general, we know that the system architecture design is just a formal description and representation of the way in which the system is organized. It helps us to understand the reason behind the structure of the system and the behavior that the system will follow when we execute it. So as this diagram has been outlined on our presentation, we can see the system architecture design that we have followed. Firstly, we collect the data set. To collect the data set, we use the camera samples from security cameras, YouTube videos, and we extract the frames from that. After that, for data pre-processing, we take this whole chunk of data and we remove the unnecessary data from it, such as say empty frames or frames of data which have the same action being performed multiple times. So this is good for us as we can reduce the amount of processing that will be required in future. Now we divide this data pre-processing output data into two sets, the train set and the test set. The two sets are separate so that we prevent overfitting. If we train the data on the same, if we train the data on some data set and we test the same data set, we will always get the right output. This is not what is required, and we need to actually check if the output that we are getting is determined by the model and not overfitted. So once we have the train set and the test set, we take the training set and train the model. The model is trained for some time, and after that, the test set, which is not put in the training set, is used to check if the output that is required in the test set is actually got by the model, and thus we check the output of the model is the same. And then if the output is same, we say that the model has been designed accurately and it has a high accuracy, and it is able to detect the action that we wanted to detect, which is from a set of 6 actions that we are detecting, namely walking, meditating, talking on the phone, standing, squatting, and waving hands. So for each of these activities, we have a train and test set, and the model is trained for each of the activities together, not separately, but together. Now we will proceed with the classifier that we have used in our model. For the detection of human activities of our project, that is the 6 activities that we have chosen, we have used the logistic regression classifier to detect the 6 activities. Now, the reason we didn't use a linear regression model was because the probability of event of an action occurring will not be between the range of 0 and 1. So that is why we had to use logistic regression. Now for logistic regression also, there are 2 functions that can be used. There is a logistic function and there is a sigmoid function. And we have made use of the logistic function. Now, as you can see on the screen, the logistic regression model is developed as a pass-fail scenario, wherein we say if event is going to occur, that is the action that we are performing is expected is occurring, then it's a pass, and we can display that as the output. Or in the case where the action is not occurring, then we can say it's a fail, that means that action is not occurring. So we know that the output of a logistic regression is a probability. Now this probability will help determine the probability of that action occurring. Because there are 6 actions, there will be a probability associated with each of the action being performed. Say a person is walking and we are detecting 2 activities, walking and running. There will be a probability associated with the person walking and the probability associated with the person who is running. So we can say if the probability of the person asserted to be walking is higher than the probability of the person asserted to be running, then the action performed will be the walking action. So the same thing has been done in our project. We have just taken these 6 human activities, and with respect to each of the activity, you will have a certain probability associated with it, and based on that, we have to determine if the activity is being performed. Now we cannot get certain absolutes in this. We can't be sure that the probability will be 1. So we have to set a threshold, that is a probability value above which we say that the action that is being detected is a certain action. So in our model, we have taken the threshold value as 0.5 probability. That means if the probability of any of the action being performed is greater than or equal to 0.5, then we can display that as the output of the probability, as in we can say that that is definitely the activity that is being performed in our model. So this threshold value can be changed with respect to the development of the project, but we have chosen it to be 0.5 as the results that have been obtained with 0.5 threshold value have been the most accurate. Now this graph shows how logistic regression model works. As you can see, 0.5 is the threshold value shown in the graph. The S curve represents just the curve where it is 0 for a long while, and then after a while the probability of an action increases and then reaches the threshold value and then eventually becomes 1. This is the ideal case. It may not be the case in our model, so that's why we have the threshold value. So in our model also, threshold value is 0.5. So if an action has probability of occurring more than 0.5, we say that the action is the action that is being performed in the model, and we display that as the output on the top left part of the video feed in the output screen. Now moving to the data flow diagram. To represent the data flow, we have something called as a data flow diagram. Now the data flow diagram has no control flow, no loops. So it only shows how the data is distributed and how it flows in the different components of the program. So it helps us to distinguish between the data that the system has and the data that is available to the entire environment of the system. And we can also see how the data is being transmitted from one component of the system to another component. So in the beginning, we take all the imported library data from Python libraries. This includes OpenCV, Action AI, and the other libraries that we have used. Then we load the data from the datasets that we have collected from the camera samples. Then we pre-process them by removing the unnecessary data. Then we have to divide them again into training and testing datasets. You take the training datasets and then you annotate them, as in you add a label to the action being performed. Say if a person is walking in the data sample, you label that action as walking. The same thing is done with each of the actions. So we have 6 actions: walking, meditation, talking on phone, standing, squatting, and waving hands. So for each of these actions, we take a sizable amount of data, say 1,000 data samples, and we annotate them and we feed them to the model. Now the model is trained. This may take up to an hour to train. And then we take another data sample, that is a testing data sample, and we feed it to the model and check what output it is predicting. If the output predicted by the data model corresponds with the action that is being performed, we say that the accuracy of the model is high. So we just use the data flow diagram to see where the data is going, and the model will be developed based on this data flow diagram data flow. And hopefully the accuracy of the model is higher, so that we can say the action is being performed in the model is the action that we are predicting as per the model with a higher accuracy. Now we will go over the flow chart. Now the flowchart is just a diagrammatic representation of the various steps that are followed in the execution of the program. Always it starts with the start and ends with the stop. That is the normal procedure for a flowchart. The raw data collection takes place in the first step. That is just the collection of raw data. Data pre-processing, just cleaning the data, wherein we remove the unnecessary data. All the empty frames is removed. All the frames of data that is repeated multiple times is removed. Annotating and training the data is just the process of taking the data samples of the different activities, assigning the labels to them. All the walking data samples are labeled as walking, all the meditating data samples are labeled as meditating, and so on. And we feed this to the data model for training. Now, after the model has been trained with this annotated data, we optimize the model. We optimize the model by changing the threshold value, by adding more data, by removing some data that was previously considered as clean data, but now we realize that that data is not clean. So we remove the data and we add new data. And then we demonstrate the results in a table format, which you can find at the end of the slides, as well as in the report. So we have taken 8 video samples where we have checked the output depending upon the model that we have trained, and we have displayed the resulting output on the top left part of the screen in blue color. It has been shown. So after demonstrating the results, we can just stop it. All this is done in real time. So if you give a video where a person is walking, it will show the person walking, and in the top left part of the screen, it will be shown as walking as the action. Similarly, for meditating, talking on phone, standing, squatting, the same output procedure is followed. It's all done in real time by extracting of the frame at every point in the video, and then that frame is put into the model, and then the model is predicting based on what it has learned from the annotated data samples, and it displays does a probability calculation of the actions being performed, and then based on the threshold value, whichever action has the threshold value of probability greater than the actual threshold value that we have set, that action is being performed, and it is displayed on the top left part of the screen. Now my teammate will explain the next part of the presentation, namely the module flow diagram.
I'm Ranjit. I will be explaining the module flow diagram. The system consists of 3 modules: data preprocessing module, pose estimator, and the final classifier. The first module, data preprocessing module, is used to prepare data for training. The input to this module is video files of different human activities. From these video files, frames are extracted. Unwanted frames are removed to clean the data, and then the frames are labeled. The second module is the pose estimator. Pose estimator refers to the computer vision technique that detects human figures in images and videos. The input to this module is image frame. It estimates where the key body joints are in the image and gives the coordinates of these points. The coordinates of these points are used as input for the third module, which is a classifier. Here we are using a logistic regression classifier, which classifies the input into one of the activities. Use case diagram. This diagram shows how this system will be used for human activity recognition. It takes video input and extracts frames from it, and then each image frame is classified into one of the activities, and thus predict the activity being performed by the human.
Hi everyone, myself Suresh. Sequence diagram. What is sequence diagram actually? Sequence diagram is the flow of objects and classes in a particular time. Here, the sequence diagram, we are taking a input video and we are extracting a frames from the given input video for the pose extracted model, and from the pose extracted model we obtain the data points and feed them to the model as the input, and final model which we have developed recognize the activity and displays on the screen. This is how our sequence diagram works. Next, results. We have conducted some tests on different videos for the activities. So let's see what are those activities and what results we got. Walking. We have collected like 8 different persons walking in a different situations. So we checked for expected output and actual output. Like walking in a room, our model was able to identify the person is actually walking, so the test case is passed. Slow walking on street. So this was also predicting the output correctly. Hands in a pocket. I'll show you the failed test cases where our model failed to identify the activity. Like wearing a jacket black was failed test case. For the person 6, it was showing as a phone, and street cam top view of walking, it was showing as a hand waving for walking, for the walking model. So this is one of the frames in the video we have fed it for testing. This is how it shows the output. Walking, the person is actually walking from right to left. The next activity is meditation. Almost all the test cases were passed, like beside a pool, rotating record or a subject, on at home with a dog in background. All the test cases were passed. Some test cases failed were on the bridge with bent video feed. The person 5 meditation was failed, and remaining all it was passed. In a studio setting, in the garden setting, it was passed. This is one of the frame from a video feed in fitted meditation. It's a beside the river. Talking on phone. In talking on phone with a skull cap, it was passed for a person 1. For the person 2 and person 3 were failed test cases. Talking with phone behind a long hair was failed. Talking with phone in front of a bridge light was failed. This was passed test case. Standing. Standing was standing at home was passed. The actual output was standing. Expected output was also standing. Person 1, person 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Where all the test cases were passed, like standing with leg moving, standing with hand moving was passed, standing with hand movement 2 was also passed. A failed test cases was standing on skateboard and standing with the object in background was failed. It was showing as hand waving. So it's a standing. Tables for testing squad. For squads, front view was failed. It was showing as a standing. And side view with chair object in background was also failed. It was showing as a hand waving. And fast squatting, it was showing as a standing. So it was also failed. Remaining all, it was past test cases. The actual front view and side view, the person one squatting is also passed. This is the squat. This is the frame where the test case was passed, where the test case was predicted correctly. Tables for hand waving. Basically, the person 8% for the hand waving was predicted like 100%. Hand waving slow, fast hand waving, regular hand waving, into all the test cases were passed in this scenario. So this is an example frame. So references. We took some reference paper from IEEE 2018-17,